風邪ひいちゃうよ。
じゃあ温めて。
Cute but deadly, cool yet ruthless, she's an elite assassin from Japan's top killer organization. Disguises and surprise kills? Just another day at work, but today, her target isn't your average mark. When she suddenly strikes, the man stays eerily calm, handling the ambush like he's done it 100 times. In fact, it feels like he's the one in control from the very start. And in a tiny phone booth like this, even the slickest moves are hard to pull off. From the moment she chose this spot, the assassin made her first mistake. Now it's a brutal face-off where power and precision rule, and the slightest edge could decide who walks away and who gets taken out. The man counters fast and clean, his eyes cold and merciless. Clearly, he's no ordinary guy. His name is Toshiro. Like her, he once served in Japan's most feared assassin syndicate. In a crew packed with killers, Toshiro, codename Ghost, was top tier. To get a sense of his skill, just look at the legend he shared a rank with, a man known only as Phantom, who once wiped out an elite military squad from a foreign defense ministry all by himself. That's how dangerous Phantom is. And the fact that Toshiro was his equal? Terrifying. Toshiro's specialty, traditional weapons. His mastery of claw blades is so deadly, he earned the nickname the Claw Demon. Phantom and Ghost were the organization's deadliest duo. Every mission was a race between them, treating enemies like points on a scoreboard. But it didn't last. Toshiro couldn't stomach the organization turning kids into killing machines, so he took a girl and ran vanishing into the countryside, where he opened a quiet little convenience store to start over. Even when faced with a mugger, he chose to hand over the cash and avoid trouble just to keep his identity hidden. But a top-tier assassin syndicate doesn't forgive deserters. After a long hunt, they finally picked up Toshiro's trail. With razor-sharp instincts, Toshiro could sense the killing intent creeping into his quiet life. What's meant to come will always return. It was never a question of if, only when. Now all he could do was get ready for war. Anyone in his way, human or not, was going down. After silently taking out 2 assassins, he thought he'd earned a brief moment of peace, but the scent of blood, something he hadn't encountered in years, was back. And with it, the urge to kill surged within him, harder to suppress than ever. So he went to see a therapist, hoping to find a way to calm the storm inside. But when the therapist learned just how numb Toshiro was to death, he tried something radical. He wanted Toshiro to feel death himself.
私があなたを撃とうとしたら。
撃ってみてください。
先生、今死にましたよ。
Too bad for him. Toshiro moved faster than death could catch. That fact alone was enough to chill anyone to the bone. One night, while out for dinner with the girl, the restaurant owner complained that his phone had suddenly lost signal. That tiny glitch was all Toshiro needed. He smelled danger in the air. He made an excuse about needing to check on the store and asked the owner to look after the girl. Then he slipped away to silently eliminate the threats lurking nearby. After dealing with the hidden enemies, Toshiro immediately began preparing for the next wave. He knew the syndicate too well. If the first strike failed, a second squad would be on the way in no time, so he planned to finish them all. First wave, second, third, every last one. And in the time it took to microwave a bento box, Toshiro had already wiped out the second wave. But just as he turned his back, one of the fallen assassins began to move. In Toshiro's hands, anything could become a deadly weapon. His skills were so terrifying, even elite assassins would struggle to stand a chance. He understood the law of the jungle: kill or be killed, so instead of dwelling on it, he focused on devouring his meal, replenishing his strength for the battle ahead. After all, the assassins he dealt with so far were just scouts, sent by the organization to test whether Toshiro was still as deadly as before. The real fight was yet to come. Just then, two unfamiliar men walked into his store. They were underlings of Kenji. Kenji may be blind and bound to a wheelchair, but he was once a top-tier assassin. He and Toshiro were sworn brothers, bound by life and death. But during one mission, they were ambushed and Kenji ended up crippled for life. Don't be fooled by his appearance. Kenji can take down two highly skilled assassins with nothing but his bare hands. He wanted desperately to help Toshiro, but knowing he was no longer in fighting shape, he instead sent two trusted protégés to assist him. Toshiro knew he couldn't keep running forever. If they ever wanted peace, the assassin syndicate had to be destroyed completely. So he devised a high-stakes plan. Let the organization capture the girl he considered family, planting a tracker on her to trace their hideout. Once the location was confirmed, Toshiro and his two allies infiltrated the enemy's lair. While mapping out their assault route, Toshiro didn't sugarcoat things. There were over 100 enemies inside. If either of his allies felt fear, they were free to walk away. He could finish the mission alone. But he warned them, only prey tremble before predators. You either fight like a wolf or die like a lamb. Inspired by their fearless mentor, the younger assassins refused to back down. They split up to take on the mission together. And Toshiro? He showed exactly why they called him Ghost. He struck like a phantom, unseen, unstoppable, and terrifying. But taking them out one by one would take forever, so Toshiro changed tactics. He deliberately exposed his position to draw enemies and only to trap them. Once they gathered, he launched a misdirection play, attacking from one side while circling silently behind them, waiting for the perfect moment to strike with deadly precision. Toshiro doesn't care for firearms. It's not just that guns rely on bullets or that the noise gives away his position, it's that he relishes the thrill of close combat. In tight quarters, a misfired shot could hit an ally. That's why he sticks to melee weapons. The enemy chose to charge in with blades, but they were about to learn the hard way within 7 steps. Toshiro strikes with brutal speed and precision. Meanwhile, his two allies were holding the outer perimeter. Working in perfect sync, they chose to face the incoming enemies head-on with guns blazing, but as their foes spread out, they were forced to split up. But Toshiro grabbed his most trusted entrenching tool, ready to switch into beast mode. Elsewhere in the forest, a scouting team ran into something far worse than expected, a mysterious attacker. They looked closer and froze. It was Phantom, the other legend of the syndicate. Unlike Toshiro, Phantom was a sadistic lone wolf. When he heard Ghost had resurfaced, he turned the forest into his personal hunting ground. For him, this was a competition, and the rookie assassins from the organization became nothing more than prey. As Toshiro carved his way closer to the heart of the base, his instincts flared. Danger was near again. A sniper took the shot, but Toshiro evaded it with lightning-fast reflexes, making the sniper's heart skip a beat. By the time he reached the sniper's location, the shooter had already fled. Toshiro didn't panic at the sound of bullets or the gleam of blades. In fact, he looked thrilled. With a quick stretch, he readied himself for another massacre. He cut down 2 elite enemies with ease, barely breaking a sweat, then moved on to hunt the rest. Not far away, a boy had eyes locked on Toshiro. The kid suddenly appeared beside him, but when Toshiro took a good look, he scoffed. Just a kid. He dropped his entrenching tool. This wasn't worth effort. The boy puffed up with pride, claiming he'd just killed one of Toshiro's men and warning Toshiro not to underestimate him. He was, after all, a product of the syndicate's elite training from childhood. But to Toshiro, elite was just an empty label. This kid wasn't in the same league, not even close. Toshiro even extended his hands mockingly, as if offering to let the boy tie him up. Humiliated and furious, the boy lunged, only to be ruthlessly beaten down. Refusing to lose, he lifted his shirt to reveal a bomb, ready to take Toshiro down with him. But the moment he charged, Toshiro's claw blade flashed, severing the detonation wire in an instant. One punch later, the boy was sent flying. With him out of the way, only one enemy remained, hiding in the shadows. Toshiro heard the news Phantom was here too. A long-lost thirst for competition surged through him. He couldn't resist. This wasn't just survival anymore, it was a challenge. Who could rack up the higher kill count? What followed was violence in its purest, most visceral form. Toshiro's every slash was like a wolf on the hunt, precise, savage, and reveling in the ecstasy of the kill. With each skirmish, he felt more like his old self. Maybe not at his absolute peak, but close enough. Still deadly, still elite. When his claw blades came out, blood was sure to follow. When he moved, the ground trembled. The claw demon was back in full force. The enemies panicked. They realized that firing at him within 10 steps wouldn't land a hit, and worse, might take out their own men, so they went with a swarm strategy, hoping numbers would overwhelm him. Big mistake. They didn't know Toshiro's mastery of cold weapons had already reached near mythical levels. In jungle close combat, he was untouchable, vanishing and reappearing like a phantom. After cutting down the last enemy, Toshiro felt a presence behind him, Phantom, but this time, Toshiro had no desire to fight. He had more important things to do. He and his allies stormed the enemy's lair, rescued the girl, and Toshiro stayed behind to cover their escape. Phantom, too, entered the chaos. Though rivals, they found themselves side by side, slaughtering enemies with eerie synchronicity. After all, Phantom was Toshiro's equal. His claw blade skills were just as fearsome, his movements just as ghost-like. In their clash, neither could gain the upper hand. Then Toshiro did something unexpected. He dropped his claw blade and challenged Phantom to finish him. Phantom, amused, yanked the blade out of his own arm and tossed it aside. The two beasts lunged at each other barehanded, primal, brutal. Eventually, Phantom started to falter. Knocked to the side, he grabbed his blade like a sore loser and whipped out a flashlight, trying to blind Toshiro and break through his guard. Provoked, Toshiro flipped the script with a brutal counter. He locked Phantom's blade against his own neck, tricking him into thinking he'd won. Then bam, Toshiro exploded into motion, catching Phantom off guard and dropping him with one final, crushing punch. Bloodied but still standing, Toshiro came face to face with the final boss, the head of the assassin syndicate. Don't let the old man's age fool you. His weapon of choice? Hypnosis. One look, and you'd become a puppet on strings. At the critical moment, blade inches from his vital point, Toshiro broke free and struck back, landing the fatal blow. Victory, at last.